Your daily choices create your habits. These habits set your destiny. My friends, 10 to 15 minutes each and every day. That's all we ask. That's so much more than if you wanted to get in shape, what you'd set aside in order to become healthy and get a good looking body. Well, you want your finances to get in order. You want to have early retirement choices. I would encourage you 10 to 15 minutes with us. You'll be heading down that road. Can't guarantee it, but I can tell you that you will learn a great deal about how things work, how the markets work, and following price. Look at these beautiful charts. Look at the easy jumping in points when you add just these Heikin-Ashi candlesticks to the trend lines and the volume, and you learn. I'm going to put the volume training at the end of this. If you hadn't taken it a while, take it again. If you've never taken it, take it for free. It'll be at the end of today's video. By the way, Patreon members, I recorded these yesterday after the show. Charting Cryptos and Commodities is uploaded at the Patreon site for chartingwealth.com, along with the 3-wave trades. Those are the various stocks and ETFs that we have curated for you to consider practice trading. Again, you're interested in getting your trading on steroids, consider becoming a Patreon member. First thing we send you is our 3-part series, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way. If you're interested in options, I think we have some of the best training on the internet and at any of the 3 levels for our Patreon members. It's available. Let's jump into these charts. Everything down for the day. The biggest downer is Bitcoin. What do we see going on with the S&P 500? It is almost flat, but it is technically down 0.02, 0.2%. Not much. Pretty flat. We can see as far as things go this week, we do see the candle moving up as far as the high goes, about the same as last week so far. Now we look at the 2-day chart and we can see where things are moving along. And I tell you what, let's blow this weekly chart up so we can actually see that better. We look at what the high is, 415.72 last week, 415.09. So we are, 60-something cents higher than last week of an ETF that closed the day at $414.14. So again, it is moving up. We can see that on the 2-day chart. This is the Tuesday-Wednesday candle that did finish drawing today. You can see that sideways slide over the last 2 days on the half-day chart. Do pay attention to this weekly trend line. You can see the 2-day chart is above it, as is the half-day. Now, are we coming to an end of this up movement? Well, we just looked at the slowdown in the S&P. This is the NASDAQ 100. It was down just a little bit more, 0.05%. Now, as we look at the NASDAQ 100, blow up that weekly chart, you can see the high back on the week beginning the 27th of March was 321.17. Last week, 321.63, so a little higher. 320.36, I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks ago. And this week, we see that the high, 321.42. So not as high as 2 weeks ago. Had some red volume last week. We're about halfway through the week. We're about average volume as far as the first 3 days goes. We'll see if we get up here. You can see when things turned around, that really peaking volume there, just jamming up with all that indecision as things were going from red to green to take off again. So we will pay close attention to the NASDAQ 100 and see if indeed we're topping out. Don't know that that's happening. Could just be digesting the former gains, but we will keep an eye closely on these charts. Now, things, again, we've talked about how things are moving down on 20-year bonds, bouncing off this topper here. We can see we sort of put a ceiling up where we've seen bonds bounce off several times, and of course, rolling over this week. Don't have a really good ability to do too much with trying to set up a trend line here for the weekly chart. So what we're basically going by is using this 2-day chart to set that up. Maybe I could do it a little better. Sometimes you can experiment around, blow it up here, and then see, it's just going to be flat. So that isn't going to do too much for us. We'll wait as we continue to move through this week. We saw, volume last week in the red. This week, again, looks like it's going to go to average volume unless things really, really move down over the next 2 days. So we will pay close attention to bonds. They have gone negative. I've marked them red on my chart. What do we see with gold? Now, gold appears to have the luster rubbing off of it. This is a week again where things have slowed down. We're almost to a doji here. Very small green candle, still is green. Volume's red, but we've seen red volume before. We're paying close attention to the candles. We do have a trend line drawn here. We are touching it on the 2-day, penetrating it on the half-day. And again, we'll wait before we jump into any kind of short trade on gold for it to fully go negative on the weekly, not just trend line pushing through that, go negative on the candle itself. Now, and by the way, gold down 0.48%. Now, the big downer for the day is Bitcoin. You can see on this half-day chart down in the morning, down in the afternoon. Got a doji there after the losses over the course of the day prior on Tuesday. And again, this is the Tuesday-Wednesday candle on the 2-day chart. We can see on the half-day, it was green and then lost that. That's what you get a doji from. An up move, a down move, basically closing where it's opening. So again, gold is losing some of its energy. It may just be slowing down to gin up again, so we will keep an eye on things. We see volume is already about the average mark, so let's pay close. I'm sorry, not gold, forgive me. Bitcoin is losing volume. Volume is up. Got off base there, folks. I'm sorry. We saw high volume last week. This week, again, decent volume already on a Wednesday, but again, going in this negative direction. So we'll see if it pierces the weekly trend line here, still above the 2-day trend line. See if the half-day pierces it. 2 days still above the weekly trend line. So we'll wait and see. What you're seeing here is where things pretty much topped if we go back to last Monday and sort of devolving since then, all the way through last Friday and then into this week. That is where we are. Sorry that confusion there about Bitcoin and gold, but again, worth paying attention to. Not super excited about Bitcoin not giving us a lot of eyes for decent trades and jumping in points, but we'll continue to track it because you guys asked me to, and hopefully like it did many, many months ago when it started being trackable and we could enter successful practice trades, that day may very well come again. And when it does, we shall be ready. Again, Patreon members, don't forget to go out there and check the Patreon site for your charting cryptos and commodities, in addition to the 3-wave trades that we've curated for you to practice trade. God bless. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.